Hello everyone, my name is Rayyan Alavi and today I'll be presenting an analysis on my chosen topic, how rising cash rates have impacted Australia's housing approvals from January 2020 to December 2025. This topic is extremely relevant and interesting as changes in cash rates directly affect borrowing costs, mortgage costs, housing demand, affordability, and general construction activity. Using real-world data from the ABS and RBA, I will demonstrate how several business analytical tools and economic frameworks can be used to generate insights and support future business decision making. So, as you will be aware of, Australia has faced significant housing affordability and housing supply challenges in the recent years. One factor influencing housing market activity is the level of cash rates. As the RBA increases the cash rate, borrowing and mortgage costs generally increase. This can significantly worsen housing demand and make developers more cautious about commencing new projects, leading to approvals slowing down and uncertainties occurring in the construction and real estate sectors. To investigate this relationship, I used two datasets. The first was the RBA cash rate target, and the second was the ABS dwelling approvals dataset, specifically the total dwelling units approved using seasonally adjusted monthly data between 2020 to December 2025. Now, the first economic framework used in this analysis is the monetary policy. This refers to actions taken by the Reserve Bank of Australia to influence economic activity through changes in the cash rate and money supply. When the RBA increases the cash rate, borrowing becomes more expensive for households and businesses. This leads to higher mortgage repayments and increased financing costs. As borrowing becomes less affordable, housing demand can decline. Developers may delay or reduce construction projects due to weaker demand and higher costs. Therefore, economic theory suggests that higher cash rates should lead to lower dwelling approvals. The second framework I'll be discussing is inflation and money. The RBA generally aims to keep inflation within its target range of the 2 to 3%. However, following the COVID-19 pandemic, as we know, inflation became a major talking point, as it rose significantly above this target range. As we can see in the graph, from 2022 to 2023, it went above the 7% mark, nearly up to 8%. This is when the RBA increased the cash rate beyond 3 to 4% to reduce these inflationary pressures. Higher interest rates reduce spending and investment by making borrowing more expensive. This process helps slow down inflation, but it can also reduce activity in interest-sensitive sectors such as housing and construction as people are more reluctant and cautious, buyers and developers that is. Based on this framework, we would expect higher cash rates to be associated with lower dwelling approvals. The analysis performed in Excel was used to test whether this relationship existed in the data. Now, the first tool I used was charting, in particular a line chart, which compares the cash rate and dwelling approvals between 2020 and 2025. The chart shows that cash rates remained very low during 2020 and 2021, near 0%, before increasing substantially from 2022 onwards due to the RBA responding to the rising inflation. And during the same period, dwelling approvals generally declined and became more volatile. Although there are many other factors which influence housing construction, the chart suggests that there is a negative relationship between cash rates and housing approvals. The visual analysis provides an initial indication that higher interest rates may reduce housing construction activity considerably. To further analyze this data, I used a pivot table and a pivot chart. These tools in particular allowed me to summarize housing approvals by year and identify the longer term trends in construction activity. The table provides a clear summary of the annual housing approvals, while the chart makes it easier to compare across each year's the changes which occur. The analysis shows that approvals varied over the period and generally weakened during periods of higher cash rates. So as discussed, in 2021 where the cash rate was near zero, as you can see the approvals are at its highest point. However, there is a major decline in 2022 and furthermore in 2023 when the cash rates increased beyond that 3 and 4% mark. For businesses operating in the property and construction sectors, these tools can assist with forecasting future trends, planning, adapting to changes, and implementing strategic decision making. The final and the most important part of this analysis was the regression model. Regression analysis was used to examine and highlight the statistical relationship between the cash rate and dwelling approvals. The results produced an R-squared value of 0.241, which means approximately 24.1% of the variation in dwelling approvals can be explained by the changes in the cash rate. The coefficient for the cash rate was a negative 561.873, which indicates that a 1 percentage point increase in the cash rate is associated with approximately 562 fewer dwelling approvals per month, which is a substantial amount if you think about it. The p-value was also significantly below 0.05. This indicated that the relationship between this indicated that the relationship is statistically significant and unlikely to have occurred by luck. Overall, the regression results support economic theory by showing there is a significant negative relationship between the cash rates and housing approvals. In conclusion, this analysis demonstrates that the RBA cash rate has a significant influence on housing approvals in Australia. Using various economic frameworks and business analytics tools, I found overwhelming evidence that high cash rates are associated with lower levels of housing construction activity. The skills demonstrated in this presentation can be highly valuable in a role such as a property analyst, who is someone who evaluates economic data and take a look at the housing market activity and how cash rate impacts it to forecast market trends, analyze property valuations, and help guide future investment decisions. On a personal note, I had very limited experience working with real world economic data prior to this unit. I developed multiple skills such as data preparation, the importance of charting, pivot tables, performing regression analysis, and applying economic theory to real world business problems. These skills overall help enable more effective data driven decision making, adapt to changes, and are highly relevant in modern business environments. Thank you.